All right, we're
All right,
rolling.
let's get this bad boy rolling. How's it going, everybody? And welcome back to the Real FI podcast. I'm your host, Patrick McGrath, with my co host, James Rippion. How's it going today, James?
Going well, Patrick. I think we're going to have a great episode today. I'm going to bring some energy. I don't know about you, Patrick, man. You had a long night. Why don't you tell our guests, our listeners, what you had going on last night?
Got a call at 2:45 in the morning about a pipe burst, quote unquote, water going everywhere. Um, Tenant could not find the shutoff valve, and lessons learned on that. I would now mark them and show them to all of my tenants and all my properties. So I had to get up, run over to the property, got there around 3:10, shut off the water, and there was about a half inch of water all over the kitchen and like a couple inches of water in the basement, all over the boiler. Like I had to shut the water to the whole building off. It was crazy. Got it fixed. Everything is good. I'm a little tired, but I got a lot of energy going here. And I think our guest is going to bring a ton of energy. And I'm going to get amped up. We got a whole bunch of cool stuff we're going to be talking about. So, James, let's get into it.
Sweet. So we got our guest, Cody Thompson here. Cody, why don't you get us started by just telling us about what your business is and what you got going on and what you're building?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys first for having me on. Second, Patrick, I love we started with that because that is probably one of the most stereotypical real estate investor landlord stories of all time. Right? That's what people say. I love that real estate thing, but I don't want to, unclog toilets at 3 a.m. So I'm really glad we get started off with a bang with that one there. So, hey, God bless you and all those brave landlords out there doing some good work. I appreciate it. But yeah, so for me, just been in real estate for a short time, actually less than a year and a half, probably 14 months. And most people usually start in real estate either as, as an agent, right? They take their class for 36 months, or they come in trying to do like wholesaling or flipping. They're driving around town, looking for ugly houses, looking for dollars, kind of running a one man army at first. That's traditionally how a lot of people start and get into the real estate world. For me, it was a little bit different through just networking and connections. This guy said, "Hey, who do you know that would want to help me build a real estate investing company?" And I was like, me. I've been wanting to get into real estate for a long time, but I really didn't know how. At the time, I was broke. I didn't have money to go get a license. It costs more money and time than most people think. So didn't want to go that route. I was doing, different sales gigs. And then I got this opportunity to go in and be the integrator of a real estate company. A local guy here, I'm in Tampa, he's in St. Pete, across the bridge there. Wanted to have somebody come in, young, hungry, ambitious, and help with the systems, help bring in a team, interview and hire people and be that integrator. I think is really cool. And that was definitely an adjustment for me because oftentimes as entrepreneurs and salespeople, we see ourselves as the visionary, the vision caster. But in times of opportunity like that, I was like, you know what, I'm going to be this integrator to the visionary and kind of adapt that vision. So I think that's a match made in heaven for a lot of entrepreneurs, is one of you having that vision and one of you wanting to turn that vision into a reality. We got that a lot from Rocket Fuel. People love Rocket Fuel, having your visionary and your integrators. So that was kind of our model, and we ran with it. Started doing VAs. He already had an existing some systems in process, texting platforms, some cold calling systems, things like that. So had some marketing down. He had already been in it for a couple of years, but he had the capital and I didn't. So guess what? You buck up and you make it happen and you adopt that vision. So that's what we did. Pulled that together. Trained up the VAs. And then eventually got a new office, some sales guys and acquisitions guys. But we picked it up, pretty quick from end of 2021. Obviously, that's market's hot. Everybody's going crazy. Everybody's buying, and it's so ironic. And Americans want to buy everything when it's at height. And people don't want to buy stocks until everybody's already in and already hollering about it. People don't want to buy real estate unless everybody else is buying real estate at the absolute peak, which is super ironic. And I'm really glad there's guys like you guys here that will bring the education, bring the real stuff, to the guys that are trying to get started and really trying to build something special. So that's what we did. I was with my former partner now for about a year, and we built that up. But as we got bigger, we kind of had different visions again as to where we wanted to go and scale the business and the model, how we're kind of doing it. For me, I didn't want to do like office model 9 to 5 for a long period. I'm obviously about getting in there and getting the work done, but we just didn't see eye to eye on moving the business forward together. So that's when I just decided to, branch off and start on my own, which I think is a natural progression for most people. Anyways, so I was like, hey, I know enough skills. Thank God I finally have a savings account now for the first time in my life, and I can go out and do this. And I really want to be an agent as well. So I ended up, leaving my partner there and got my license about 6 weeks ago. And now building up the wholesaling side and building up the agent side. So it's really fun to have both. It's not it's not two drastically different businesses where some people want to like flip, and then some people also want to do like syndications for apartment buildings. It's kind of two drastically different businesses where if you have exit strategies that are more similar, there's a little more uniform and flow in your business. That's what I'm trying to create now.
So what exactly was
Exactly.
the business that you were working with with your partner? Was that a wholesaling business, or were you guys flipping as well, or was it buy and hold?
Pretty much strictly wholesaling. We did take down a couple and then pretty much immediately throw them back on the MLS, if there was enough meat on the bone there. But 99% of the time we were strictly wholesaling, just stack cash and scale the thing until, we have a lot of cash reserves, until we have the right connections to, take down properties quick ourselves and either flip them or hold them. But yeah, mostly out of state wholesaling.
And something I'm curious about is, what was your cash stack looking like when you decided to leave that business and go out on your own? Because a lot of people have these, grandiose ambitions of starting their own business. But sometimes they might be thinking like, how much money do I need? Do I need $10,000, $100,000, $250,000? So talk to us a little bit about what your financial position looked like at that point, and like how that helped you transition into the next stage that you got to.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really good question, because some people don't know, like, when do I have the savings account or the funds aside to start anything? Or if I'm an existing operation, how do I know when to go out on my own, which is really, really fair. So for me, I never really had money, grew up very modest, single mom family. And I always wanted to grind. I always had a big vision for my life. I was like, I'm going to do something. So I'd never even made good money before. And luckily had a good run this year. And for me, obviously, that was a savings account. For some people, it's pennies, but I had $30,000-$40,000 cash that I didn't necessarily need right now for bills and things. So I was like, I have enough. And again, if I had only $5,000 in a bank account, I would never walk away. I would still do what's necessary. But I said, you know what? I don't have a lot of cash, but I have enough to get me through the rest of this year and start something for myself. So for me, I had enough of that cushion, enough of that security for me to do it. For some people, if you have 3 kids and 2 cars and a mortgage, don't leave, don't leave the job, and don't leave, probably bite the hand that's feeding you, I would say, for that. But for me, being young, not having the kids and the cars and all that, I could definitely make it happen. So I think it's definitely necessary. If you want speed, if you want to get deals and not just start driving around for 6 months, driving for dollars to try to get something, but if you want to, put something on the board, on the scoreboard there, I think it's necessary to have $5,000-$10,000 that you can put into some decent marketing, buying data on one of the data platforms, putting out some, some texting, some direct mail, those things. I think a couple $1,000s off the rip for sure, before anybody thinks about really getting serious about the business.
It makes a ton of sense. I mean, and I really love how you said in the beginning that you felt like you were partly a visionary, but you took the integrator role to go and learn from somebody who was in the business. This was your opportunity to get into real estate. This was your opportunity to get into the business, to, network and be right there and learn the ropes with somebody who's been doing this for a few years. And like you said, you decided to be an integrator for that part to help that business. And then your visionary part kind of flourished when you had, like you said, 30-40 grand in the bank, and you already knew, okay, I'm going to need, this much money for some marketing, this much money to pull some data, I'm going to need this much money for some closing, and to just hire the VAs and stuff like that, and be able to cover my stuff as I go be an agent. So now you went from working from somebody, and now you have kind of 2 separate businesses going on at the same time in roughly about 14 months. So we love the visionary integrator story. I know we talked about this in our episode with Felipe Mejia. All you guys go back and listen to that. He talks about that extremely well and in detail if you haven't already. but I do kind of want to jump in a little bit on some of those programs and some of those data points for people out there that kind of want to either find their own deals, not necessarily, maybe start a wholesaling company, but even if they were going to try to go out there and, dip their feet in wholesaling, like what's some of the programs or software or sites that people should be checking out?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is probably the most common question you guys usually get, right? People in your DMs saying, hey, man, I want to get started in real estate. I love to do my first deal, kind of get my feet wet. And I did a training on this recently. A buddy of mine has a group, and I do a free training for him on the wholesaling side every week. It's a lot of fun, but I was just training on this specifically. And in my opinion, and everybody has like their opinions of what list to go for, what neighborhoods to go for, maybe your criteria, pulling data. But I just did this training. So let's say you have no money in the bank, you have no money to put towards the business, you don't know really where to start. I would start here if I was to restart with no money and on my own without having a mentor and a guide, basically, full-time masterclass, which I do usually encourage people. Like if you have the opportunity to get to partner up with somebody that's already successful in the business, you get paid literally to be mentored all day long, 24/7 every day, rather than going to a conference every quarter. So we definitely encourage that, first of all. But second of all, starting, by yourself, no money, want to go drive for dollars or whatever, I would go straight to your courthouse or your clerk of court website, and then you can pull the probate data. Oftentimes when family members pass, let's say your grandfather passes, there's an old house and a property or 3 acres that are now in your name, or you're the heirs, on that deed or title. A lot of family members don't know what to do. Obviously, they may want to sell it. Maybe they want to turn it into, campgrounds, or maybe they live in the house, something like that. But oftentimes they don't want to. And that's where those probate cases where family members are kind of sitting on a house, don't really know what to do with it, where you can come in, save the day, say, hey, you may not know anything about real estate, you may not be, have an agent or a broker or whatever, but we just want to make sure that this process gets done smoothly and effectively. And obviously you can make those contacts. But first thing is finding those data points, finding a deal, finding somebody. So I recently went through this, but go to your county or any county. I mean, you can go to LA County, New York County. I don't know. I'm in Hillsborough County, Tampa. You guys are in, you get Fayetteville, North Carolina, wherever you are. I know it's Cumberland County, right? Cumberland County, Onslow.
Yeah, you got it.
Those up there. I got all my counties down. So go to your county website, clerk of court website, look for those probate records, and every county website is different. So that's just a part of being self-sufficient. That's a part of a real teller. You can be successful in sales and entrepreneurship at all, is being self-sufficient and competent enough to go search through the county websites, click through, get a little fidgety, right? Get around, move around, find the right list, but you pull those probate data points, and you can call on those family members. I've done True People Search, fastpeoplesearch.com, those things, that find those family members, because 95% of the time they need someone to hold their hand that acts like a professional and walk them through that process of, you just got handed some kind of property, you have no idea what to do with it, you've never done a real estate transaction before, and you're surely no agent or broker, what happens. So I think that's a really good opportunity for people to step in with no budget, no marketing budget, not even really wasting your time, quote unquote. If you want to waste your time driving for dollars, that's a good way to have direct data points, easiest way to find phone numbers. And I think your straightest line, A to B, straight line to get you to possibly have a deal, is those free.
It sounds like work,
lists.
man. So you're telling me if I've got no money to go out and buy lists and everything, I actually have to put in work to go find a deal.
Takes a lot of work. And I like to tell the truth to people and not say, yeah, I just made a call and then I made $100,000, right? Everybody sees those Instagram videos of a 19-year-old making $1 million, which can sometimes be intimidating, or that comparison thing. But yeah, it takes work. And I got this from my Uncle G. Everybody knows the old Uncle G. And it's going to take 10 times the work and 10 times the time and energy than you think it is. But it is far worth the while.
Cody, let's dig into this a little bit, because you're dropping a lot of great nuggets here, and we know the steps to take at this point to go find some leads for some wholesaling opportunities. What's the next step? Having those conversations with those heirs and the executors and the people in the family. And that's such a difficult thing to address, talking to people who are going through those, painful situations in their life. How do you train others who are doing this on your behalf, or yourself? Like, how do you approach these conversations with people who are in need of selling their home, but they're going through these difficult life transitions?
Yeah, absolutely. I think giving a crap about people and caring first and foremost. And that might seem like an obvious thing to do, but most people don't. Most people just see a dollar sign or see a possible deal and just go for it. This week, I've cried on the phone with my buyer for a property twice. Like laughing and crying with the buyer twice. So I think just having empathy is a really powerful tool that I've had to work on a lot the past year or two, which I think is really important. And it's these sayings and things that we hear all the time that we kind of overlook or overhear. And for this one, I really think of people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So they don't care that maybe you've done 17 deals. They don't care. They don't care that you know the laws and the property lines and how the probate process works. They want to know, do you care about my parent or grandparent that just passed? Do you care about what I'm going through? I'm grieving. It's a tough time. And in most situations, being in the wholesale business, those are oftentimes tough situations for people. It's divorce, it's death in the family. It's upside down on their mortgage, facing foreclosure, looking that in the face can be devastating. I went through foreclosure as a child and bankruptcy as a child from my family. And that's a tough time and a lot of stress on everybody. So taking a step back and saying, it's not about me. It's not about my bank account. It's not about this deal for me. But how can I help and serve this family? And I think even if I don't make money on this, even if it's not a deal for me, if I can even pass it off to somebody else or, call an agent in that neighborhood, in that area, and at least get them help, I know that if I put the value out there, put the care and love in there, it's going to come back to me in one way or another. So I think that's first and foremost. But then the tactical stuff, I think, is really the easier part of scripting and having a few sentences, memorizing a few sentences to make sure you tell them the right thing, let them know this is what you do. You love what you do. You love helping people. Having a title company in place, at least somebody to name drop. Hey, I have my title company. I have a family behind me. I have a crew behind me. You're not just working with me. You're working with a team of professionals, and we will hold your hand and take care of you from now all the way to that closing table. So I think people always just want to know that you care, you give a crap about them. You're not just out there trying to make a buck. And also, having general scripts down, having the right agreements in place. And they're very simple, thank God. On the wholesaling side, they're 1-pagers to 2-pagers. You don't need anything more than that. Very simple, as is condition, yada, yada. You guys know the rest. But from there, just holding their hand, walking them through that and caring, I think is the biggest thing.
I love it. And that point is, I think, far overlooked all of the time, is that real estate is the people first business. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the square footages of the houses and how many bedrooms and all this other stuff. Your tenants are really, your business, your sellers, your buyers, they are the business. They are people. It's all about a people first business. And if you get the people part right, the rest of it will come, So I love that you really honed that down, because so many people, I think, get on the phone and, they just start asking about the property and the condition. And, I know I need to get it for, 65 cents on the dollar after repair value for me to be able to make $5,000 off of this. And, just totally, like you said, negate everything. And it really comes down to relationships. And you've got to build a relationship with whatever person you're on the phone with talking to. And like you said, have that empathy for the situation that you're going through and say, hey, I'm here to help if I can. And if I can't, I can do X, Y, and Z. So it's not one-sided. It's hey, I need this information to see if I can help you, but if I can't, I have this person, and this person. And I really think that's great. One of the things I wanted to dive into real quick is regarding the title company. Okay. So do you recommend for, someone that's getting into wholesaling or, these off-market deals, to find a title company first that will be able to do these types of deals? Because I have heard from people that some title companies, they like to keep themselves distanced from these kind of creative deals per se. So what do you recommend for that?
100% agree with you there. I think really before getting into the business and before, like I said, taking care of other people's lives and their families and their livelihood, to make sure that you are well equipped. And it's nothing crazy, and it doesn't really cost you anything to start building a relationship with title firms. So I think it's just whatever area that is, let's say it's local, let's say it's in your neighborhood, in your zip code, in your city, calling on closing attorneys and title companies in your area, building the relationships and saying, hey, I work with a lot of families that do a lot of off-market transactions, specifically assignment contracts. And when it comes to assignments, like you said, some closing attorneys and title companies don't want to work with those types of transactions and contracts and situations. So it's very important to build that relationship, at least have somebody good to go towards, in your market, where you can confidently go to that seller and say, hey, I work with Tiago Title Company. I work with Patrick Title Company, and we have Jessica at the front desk. Jessica is going to be the one first reaching out to you, getting your information. And then Karen is our title processor. She has a great processing team. She's been in the business for 27 years. Their office is boom, 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 down pat. They'll take really good care of you. And so I think just having that confidence and having that, transferring that certainty to your seller, to the family that you're trying to work with and do a deal with, they just want confidence. That's all they want to hear over the phone. They don't care, like you said, the roof and HVAC and the floor. If you know about, okay, cool, about 30-year architectural shingles, that's cool, but they need to know, am I in good hands, not just with you, but all the people behind me? Do you have a legal team? Do you have the processing team? Do you have those things in place to have the experience? You don't have to have the experience, but just portraying that confidence to them that you have a team behind you. It's not just me, little old kid run around, trying to make a buck, but I do have systems in place to take care of you. So yeah, I think title companies are very important because that can make or break your deal. If you don't have trust, and we have to, just like we talk about having rapport with our sellers, with the families we're working with, you also need to have that same rapport with your title company, with the girl at the front desk, with the processor, and ideally with the closing attorney at that firm.
I like it.
Yeah, and all that stuff's free.
It is.
Yeah.
And build those relationships, make those calls. And, the more you're doing business in the market that you're going to be operating in, the more contacts you're going to have. And you're going to be able to filter through all these other service providers to find the good lender, to find the good title attorney. I know I've gone through a couple in different transactions, and I've been very surprised to find, people who operate very smoothly, they communicate well. So it doesn't hurt to try out people and just have those communications up front. But, as it relates to your business, Cody, tell us how's 2022 been for you, man? How many deals have you done? Tell us about some of the numbers that you've been, crushing us with. So, give us some of those details.
Sure. Yeah. It's been a roller coaster, I feel like, for a lot of us, but it's been fun. I mean, I've learned more in this year than ever in my life. And I'm so grateful for it. And I'm even more grateful for this market shift or market correction, or whatever you want to call it, because in times of change and times of uncertainty is when leaders and champions are born and great companies. And that's when you definitely learn the most and get ahead of so many. So I'm just grateful for this whole year and the year that's about to, come upon us fast, 2023. But for this year, I did 32 wholesales. And so that was mostly with my former partner. I've done one wholesale since I've been on my own. And then I have 2 MLS traditional agent listings going to close now. So I'm hoping to close out total at the end of the year. Hopefully I squeeze in at 35 transactions for the year. But people think, oh my gosh, 35 houses you sold, that must be so much. But when you have teams and expenses and splits and all those things, 35 houses in a year, unless they're mansions in Miami on the water, it's not going to make you the millions yet. There's a lot of scaling and a lot of work to do. But I'm hoping I can, hopefully double that next year, or if I don't double that number of transactions, maybe do the same number of transactions, but at a higher volume. Throw in some multifamily, get those in there. It can definitely help boost your revenue.
And that's what I love about that is, when you become that solo operator, that solopreneur, you can make more money per transaction perhaps, but you're going to be putting more effort into it on the front end, on the back end. You're going to be more involved. You're working, in your business. Rather, what you're doing is you're building up the teams, the systems. You're finding a way to become a visionary and integrate all those systems in one place. And, you're going to be building up the volume of transactions and have things so that they can operate on their own, run efficiently, run smoothly. That's going to create recurring revenue and build your business that way. So I think that's great. 35 transactions, man, that's a good year. I'm sure, you're bringing in really good revenue, and you're going to be able to reinvest all that money back into your business and go somewhere great with that.
Absolutely. It's really a marketing game. So I'm super pumped just to now after a year of seeing all the craziness now really amp that up. And I'm sure we can touch on looking forward in this next year, but it's now and the next year, you got to do this. We have to roll up our sleeves a little bit, and we got to get a little down and dirty, and we have to do a little more work. And I think people are excited to be in the game in 2020, 2021, early 2022, because money was easier to borrow, money was cheaper. And also because everybody was selling houses, everybody was buying, it was going like hotcakes, and the media was on your side. So when the media is on your side, then everyone wants to jump in and do well. But now the media is obviously striking with fear again, filling everybody with fear. And I think when that happens, so many people have already gotten washed out, I think, of the industry the past couple of months, which now for the real guys, for the people that have staying power, who will build the businesses and will set up the systems necessary that will get you through any market, up market, down market, sideways market. Now you're much more prepared, and now you will capitalize on it. And actually competition is leaving the market, I think, over the next year, which will bring more opportunities for us, the guys that are sticking with it.
That's a fantastic point, is that the competition is leaving the market. So the buyer pool is leaving the market. The seller pool on market is leaving the market. And like you said, some of these wholesalers that were riding the good wave just because it was easy are starting to leave the market because they had huge overhead. So in this next 12 to 18 months, what do you see and how do you plan on capitalizing this? Are you going to be just focused on calling? Is it going to be texting? Is it going to be mailers, handwritten letters, Facebook ads, like billboards? Kind of, break that down for us on what your path you see is to try to take some of that, market segment away from some of these other wholesalers that, are going to end up leaving the market.
Cody, I'm looking forward to seeing your face on some billboards here in Fayetteville, man. Like, I think that's the next step. I see a lot of like wholesaling billboards around here. Like, there's a market for it. It must work. So what do you got planned, man? Tell us what you got going on.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I'll be on a billboard in Fayetteville soon. Maybe I can get if you know a guy, get a good discount or something.
I know a guy.
It's different in every market. And I think that there are universal strategies. There are universal overarching principles that need to be laid down in your business in any market in the US. But really, state to state and even county to county, things can change a lot. I've seen a significant difference between the marketing that worked effectively in North Carolina the past year versus the marketing that I'm doing the same. I started doing the same playing, the same strategies, texting, cold calling in Florida, and people are much more resistant to, hop on the phone with a stranger, answer a text message, be receptive, maybe in this market. So I think it does take time to break into markets. It takes a couple months to try market strategies. I think oftentimes in business and everything else, we live in a microwave world where people want to try texting for a month and they don't make $1 million. So they say piss on it. People try mailers and door knocking for one day, one weekend, and it doesn't work out. They don't get a deal and they quit. But I think it's the staying power that will help people find the most opportunity and the success over the next 12 to 18 months. And for me personally, ironically, I think sales in general is definitely changing. The sales world, and real estate obviously is as well. And what I mean by that is we have dehumanized so much of our interaction. We've dehumanized so much of our marketing that people are so numb the past 2 or 3 years, especially, after COVID started and the big COVID boom and stuff. So many people jumped into the game, and so many people across America, no matter where you live, in the boonies or, in the city, people have been absolutely bombarded, but texting and calling and people beating down their door and emails and everything else. So I think because the marketplace and because our audiences that we're trying to help and the people we're actually trying to serve, they can't feel the human connection. And we desire, as humans, we desire that connection. We desire that to build a rapport, to want to work with someone, right? We always hear we need to be liked, known, and trusted for people to work with us. And I think the trust is at an all-time low in America when it comes to the marketplace, when it comes to advertising. So I'm actually trying to shift gears here and actually more towards human marketing and old school ways that we got away from because we have all this cool tech, right? We have texting platforms where we can send out 10,000 texts a day. We have cold callers. We have, dialers where we can dial 12 numbers at one time, and just crank people. And so although I do think that those multiple marketing channels are great, and I think it's necessary to build a sustainable business for the long period, to have those 4 to 6 marketing channels to bring you leads and opportunities. I think that's super important. But I think for people really getting started that haven't invested tens of thousands of dollars into those traditional, all of our amazing real estate tech, I'm very grateful for, because I could never reach 10,000 people in a day without it. But with that being said, I think the human aspect and the human interaction face to face is priceless. I think there's nothing that will ever really replace it. So I think literally door knocking, I just ordered 1,000 door hangers. So I'm doing door hangers, getting back to mailers and writing handwritten notes, literally taking your phone out and writing down properties as you drive by them on your way home from work or the grocery store or whatever, and saying, I'm going to write them a handwritten note. And I know that sounds crazy, but I think if we take a step back and can actually put a more human interaction into it, more face-to-face, more belly-to-belly, and show people, again, going back to what we said earlier, that I care. Hey, my name is Cody. I care about you. I'm looking to buy houses all cash. If this would make any sense for you at all, if you have had any thoughts of selling at all, here's my number, here's my website. So I think when people see that, they can see this is a real person. I was actually at an event last night, monthly, I do like a real estate meetup. And my buddy was actually showing me, he went back to bandit signs. I mean, white styrofoam bandit signs with big black Sharpie on it. He literally said, buying houses, all cash. Here's my number, call me. And he said his phone's been ringing every day. And although most of those probably won't work out to be deals and whatever, but people are really responding to seeing this is a local company. This is a local guy who actually does good work, probably a family owned, small business. So whenever we were doing other states, right, and we had our operation here in Florida, and we're doing deals every day in North Carolina and Georgia. And so because of that, we represent ourselves and portray that confidence to them. Hey, we're small. We're that local business that needs to be important for people, that it's not some corporate company, right? Because we have the hedge funds, we got the institutional money that have just wrecked and abused the marketplace, right? We got the Zillows, the OfferPads, the Open Doors, all these people that have obliterated America, from anywhere in the country. So I think people are going to be trusting more than ever and would rather work with the local guy, the small guy that they can have some kind of rapport with and relate to, rather than a big shot in a corporate office that wants to, possibly screw them over and back out of a deal. And they don't care because they're thousands of miles away in some big, corporate office where we can have the advantage of making that real human connection with people.
I think we are seeing the
hit the nail on the head.
reverberations of some of that. I mean, like Zillow, OfferPad, all these businesses. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think some of them are closing up shop for some of their massive buying sprees they've been doing. Things have become
Billions and losses.
Yeah, lots of money has been lost. And I know in Fayetteville, my market, a lot of the listings coming from OfferPad, they tend to hang out on the listing side for, way above average days on market.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to squeeze out every penny they can. I have no idea how they remain profitable based on what they buy it for, the work they do, and what they're trying to sell it for. But, all that behind us, I think having that human interaction is going to go a long way as we shift back into maybe an economic environment that's a little bit more painful.
Mm-hmm.
The money is not as free flowing. Just sending a text might not be enough at that point.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
Yeah. I mean, so I was in sales for the last 10 years before I quit and did real estate full time. And, it was always about those in-person meetings. My boss would always say, it's all about pressing skin. It's all about shaking hands, looking people
Mm-hmm.
eye to eye, getting that, like you said, human interaction. You can do that over the phone if you're, a good speaker and you're able to build those relationships. But I love the fact with the door knocking, the handwritten letters. I mean, I've been sending out mailers personally for about the past 2 years. I go on like a 2-month cycle, off for 2 months, 2-month cycle, just to keep, and it's to the same people over and over again, just in my local area, because that's where I want to buy. And that's what I do personally, but I'm even niching down even more than that now. And I'm gonna kind of get like a little system going with that to follow up and change some things up, because like you said, right now in this market, I've been getting blown up with phone calls and text messages for properties that I bought a year ago. People are sending me text messages and phone calls and emails and everything else. And it's like, I can totally see how the average person or a landlord that's been doing this for 25 years is completely sick of it. So I think the point is, you got to be thinking outside of the box. You've got to be willing to do all the things that the average person, the average wholesaler, the average investor isn't willing to do. And what that comes down to is hard work. Like you said, rolling up your sleeves. Things were easy. Like if you were sitting on the sidelines the last 3 years and saying, I'm waiting until the market comes down. Well, guess what? It's a lot harder now. You should have did it a couple of years ago. And you didn't decide, you didn't commit, you didn't take the action, and now you're in a harder spot. So like you said, you really have to build. Yeah, exactly. We got the hats on right now. You really have to build a solid foundation and really grind and put in the work. But I do believe if you do that, you are going to get way better deals right now. You've got way more opportunities with these offer pads and Zillow, House Flippers. Any one of those that's sitting on the market over 90 days. I just heard Patrick Bet-David basically say, like, it's time for the disrespectful offers, like just start low balling on market deals, and don't necessarily do that to someone that you're trying to wholesale going through any particular bad stuff, but like now's the time to like seize the opportunity and make that happen. So I love it. I really want to get into kind of what is motivating you right now. Like, what's the motivation behind all this? Is it because you want to build a business? We talked about helping people, but what really like is pushing you to not only go out on your own, but to really like be successful?
Yeah, absolutely. I think most people talk about when they have a vision or their why is usually like their family and their kids, and obviously those things are really important to me to build a family in the future. I mean, obviously I'm young, and when family comes in the future, wife and kids and things like that, especially when kids come, I never want there to be any a hint of scarcity. I never want there to be any type of conversation where I have to tell my kids no because of a financial issue, So I think obviously that's a big one for me internally in my family and that vision. But oftentimes people want to go help people. They want to impact people. They want to save the world. They want to, feed the hungry. Those things are amazing, but a really great way that, and something that entrepreneurs have, an advantage we have, a blessing we have, and a privilege is to be able to employ people and actually put food on other families' tables because we get to provide them opportunities. So this is obviously a long game, and I will be right here in this lane for the next 10 years. People get in and start doing too much stuff too fast and too many avenues, but I want to absolutely master the game I'm in right now over the next 10 years and have that vision, because in 10 years, I want to be employing hundreds of people. I want, different real estate companies. I want my real estate brokerage. I want my investment firm, wholesaling, flipping. I don't think that will ever really go away. There will always be opportunities to acquire, off-market properties, acquire things at a great price, and be able to add value to communities. So a big why for me is a lot bigger than my internal team, but I want to employ someday when I'm old. I want to have 1,000 employees. I want to help communities. Florida's my home state. I've been here forever, so I want to help build up communities, flip neighborhoods, make them nicer, be involved actually in communities. So that's a big thing for me. Everybody has different values and everybody has a different why, but I think I can really help put food on people's tables and employ them with great opportunities. And as I employ lots of people over time, over the next couple decades, we'll get to inspire them, help uplift them, and hopefully that translates into their family and that they can carry that on and help people in their own communities.
I love that. It always trickles down. And when you have that visionary at the top, able to bring economic empowerment to all those people who are employed, working day to day, it really expands the scope of, the good that you can give back. It doesn't all have to be about charity and just, giving back to charity and donations and all that stuff. Building a business where you can hire people and give people the opportunity to provide for themselves. There's a saying I always, have heard in the past, help those who are willing to help themselves, give people the opportunity to pull themselves up. I think that's great.
Mhm.
I really respect that. But, looking into 2023, like we're almost at the end of 2022, like it's almost in the rearview mirror.
Crazy.
November, kind of crazy to say at this point. What does 2023 look like for you? You've done 35 transactions this past year. It's been great. Maybe you might have a couple more before the end of the year. What does 2023 look like for you, and what kind of goals are you setting to kind of launch yourself into that vision that you're building?
Yeah, I'm super pumped about it, and I know that people usually live in fear, and even in the business, if they're confident and excited, they don't give themselves enough time. So I think even though I've done some transactions, I've learned a couple of things, I still have so much to learn and so far to go. So I think people don't give themselves enough grace, as in time. Like I'm 12, 14 months in, I'm a baby fetus in this industry. And so I've barely even began to lay the groundwork for my career. But I think more than anything, this next year, I'm excited to scale my own wholesaling operation effectively and build more relationships locally rather than just doing out of state or far away. I'd like to definitely help communities locally that I can drive to again and have that belly to belly interaction. So obviously adding on more VAs next year. And I've never acquired, my own property. I've only really wholesaled. So I think it'd be really cool for me to hopefully find that rare one next year, duplex, quadplex, and take that thing down. So I obviously sell real estate every day. That's my mission, but I haven't even, bought my own product yet. So I would love to definitely, acquire my own product for a change next year for sure, and kind of see what that looks like, and learning how to cash flow, learning how to do a renovation. Although it's a little daunting and scary, but that's out of my comfort zone. So I definitely want to find ways to get out of my comfort zone. So that's for definitely the investing side. And then as a realtor and an agent, I definitely want to learn how to upscale and get to that higher price point, and to kind of breaking more into the luxury market and audience. And obviously for most people, it won't be selling their, mansion that they bought in 2020 at a 2% rate and then going to get the same house for, triple as much of a payment. But those people that I can still help and serve and plant those seeds. So I think the next year too is planting so many seeds within communities, within building a massive database and email base, because the next year will align me for when the next COVID boom happens, which it will. It may not be the crazy thing that happened in 2020, but in 2024 or 2026, whenever that is, there will be another huge boom. And then everybody else will be running back. Oh, real estate's back. It's back. Let's get into it again. But because we stayed here and we worked through this market shift, these times of uncertainty, we were so well prepared to just absolutely exponentially blow up when that time comes. So I think just laying the groundwork, planting seeds in every business, and getting my marketing channels down super well, so that when that next expansion cycle comes, we'll be able to capitalize really well.
Yeah, recessions give you the opportunity to build your millions and to build new businesses that are going to provide for your life from forever. And there is a lag from the effort you're going to put into when you start to see results. And I think that's important for people to realize. Like, if you're going to be doing all this marketing, you're not going to see it right away. And it might take 6 to 12 months. But you want to be at a point where you can invest that money now, invest that time now, to capitalize when people, I don't want to say ideally, but, we're all investors here. Maybe there's more pain in the future, and we can capitalize on that at that point. We're prepared to, and we're not just starting up the engine then waiting for the opportunity to present itself, because there's going to be other people, hitting that market faster than you are. So, I think that's great. You're preparing for the opportunity that's going to be around the corner.
Absolutely. And guys, if you're listening, it takes time, y'all. This takes years. Okay, this is not microwave, TikTok, 15 seconds, build a business. It takes 1 year to really even start laying the groundwork, to learn transactions, to learn contracts, to learn marketing. It takes another year to start learning how to bring people on with you and get partners and have employees. And then by year 5, now you can say, I have semi-mastered this game. And then I think it'll be really, really cool someday when I get to say, I stayed in this industry, I stayed in my lane for 10 years. And now I can say I've mastered this industry, and now the world has opened up for me. So make a 5-year commitment, make a 10-year commitment, and then we can talk.
100%. I mean, one of the things that I loved about what you said there is the motivation part. Okay. Part of the reason, and a lot of the reason that James and I even started this podcast, is to motivate and inspire people to go out there, but also educate. And we like to have, you know, a wide range of education, motivation, and inspiration, you know, and you're motivating me even more about planting those seeds, you know, and that's what you always have to be doing. The death of a salesperson is not prospecting. And that's all we're really talking about here, is always prospecting, because all of us as investors, no matter if we're buy and hold investors, if we're flippers, if we're wholesalers, if we're syndicators, it all revolves around sales, and that all revolves around prospecting. And the time that you want to be amping up your prospecting is during the downturns, because the people will remember, you know, the home buyers or the home sellers will remember that they still got mail from you. You still came by and knocked on their door, even though they told you 1,000 times they weren't ready to sell. And when they are, you're going to be that guy, whether it's 2 years, 3 years, 5 years from now. And I love how you have that long-term vision, because we are so in that 15-second to 1 minute, you know, 60-second clip mode, where everybody's all flashy, you know, and I made $1 million, like you said, I made $1 million in 6 months doing X, Y, and Z. And it takes a long time. You know, I've been doing this for almost 5 years now, but really only for the last 3, you know, and I feel like I've been, you know, okay, successful, but to the person with no properties, it's like, you know, I'm like so far ahead of them. But
Yeah.
it's like, I've really only been doing this for 3 years. Like you said, I haven't even hit my 5-year timeline yet. So just imagine where you're going to be in 10. So if you, like you said, you're doing the right thing by starting out and knowing like, hey, I'm barely at the bottom. I'm just, you know, breaking out and starting to really make things happen, and to not really judge yourself on the 1 or 2 year where you're at, but the 5 year. I think as a young guy, and I think there's a lot of people out there that feel like they're kind of starting from the beginning. And I think that hits home the message, like you really have to have that long-term vision, or you're going to peter out and you're going to be like just all the other guys that you're talking about taking all their properties, you know, from, because they bailed and didn't have that long-term vision and weren't doing this for the right reasons. Do you agree, James?
I'm with you, man. I agree 100%.
Yeah, that's fine. I wanted to add too, because with that being said, I'm not saying we should just go in slow motion and be a slug for 5 to 10 years and then it'll happen. That's also not the case here. What I try to do is I sprint, all right, catch my breath. All right, sprint, catch my breath. And so I think people need to know too, it's not about going slow as in your actions and make 3 calls in a day or only knock on 3 doors in a day. It's taking aggressive action, massive maniac action, but being patient with the results. I've tried to live by this, and I definitely want to live by the next couple of years, is aggressive patience, being aggressive with the action and patient with the results, because people want to be aggressive with the action for 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, and say, hey, where are the results? And so we went to school for 4 years. People get sold on going to college for 8 years for a master's degree, a PhD. I originally wanted to be a surgeon. That was funny, lasted a semester. But that's 12 years of school to then reap the reward. That's 12 years of debt. That's 12 years of sweat equity. That's 12 years freaking busting your butt and not seeing any financial reward. And then in 12 years, the surgeon gets rewarded with $500,000 salary. And that's what we want, right? Everybody wants to have financial freedom and help your family and have options, but it takes maybe not 12 years, but it surely takes a couple of years of that sweat equity. And so I just want to make sure that we're not sitting on our butts for 5, 10 years, but we're hustling, we're sprinting, taking a breath. Okay, where did we miss? Where are we at? What are the KPIs? What are the numbers here? What can I improve? All right, let's sprint again. And so I think if we sprint, take a breather, sprint, take a breather for 5 to 10 years, that's when you can see massive results, and the whole world, like I said, can definitely open up to you that time.
Cody, along those lines, man, you know, I think I'm trying to figure out how to put this, but well, let me put it this way. You know, when you're building what you're building for the next couple of years, it's great to look at like what your goals are going to be and what you want to accomplish, but it's also good to look at the things that might be the obstacles along your way to get there. So what are some of those things that you know you're going to have to work through to get to that next step? What are some of those obstacles like you're planning to get around when you're building your business?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for most people, and this is usually given, but capital, right? Obviously I I say all the time, like, man, if someone wanted to give me a six-figure loan right now, I would literally probably take it, because if I could take $100,000 loan, put that in, if I could only use it for marketing and advertising and that dumb stuff, if I could just put that into, the pot here, put it into the slot, I call it the slot machine. If I could put that money into a slot machine, that $100,000 in real estate, if you use it effectively for your marketing dollars, can turn into $1 million, if you do it right. So I think obviously capital, getting more cash on board. And I think this year made people realize, especially the past couple months, you need more cash on hand than you think. And I know, obviously, I'm not saying Dave Ramsey, eat ramen noodles for 20 years, but I am saying for sure, like, the cash reserves are important. And I've noticed that too, for business, and just for that cushion to an extent. So I think capital, number one, is obviously a big obstacle for people, but we can use every dollar and squeeze the juice out of every dollar we can, with taking 10% of your income from your job, from your W-2, or for your current sales position or something, and effectively, strategically making a plan, making an Excel sheet, being a big boy and not just freestyling it and winging it, but organizing things and putting necessary, funds towards it. So I think number one, building up more capital for this next year for me for marketing and advertising. And I'm thinking of number two is really building the credibility and a reputation, because everybody's, and obviously to us, it seems like everybody's in real estate. I can scroll through my Instagram or TikTok right now, and there I see 100 videos of 100 different real estate guys, gals, or companies. And so I think this is a great opportunity for those of us who are freaking punching the gas pedal down while everybody else is retracting and pumping the brakes. We're going to, put the gas pedal down and get in front of more faces and build a reputation and credibility. Because what do people think? The people you're texting, the people you're cold calling, the people you're knocking on, the people you're trying to do business with, in their mind, they're saying, number one, what makes you different? Because I drive around town to soccer practice and to work, and I see 100 different real estate signs. Every time I click on Facebook, I have a Facebook ad from a real estate marketer, promoter. So what makes you different? And what's in it for me, as I think what most prospects and what most audiences that you're trying to speak to are asking themselves. So I think that's the biggest thing next year. Obviously, financials, building more capital faster and learning how to use those dollars strategically. Thank God I got to learn how to not use some of the dollars this year, so I can use them more effectively this next year. And then, like I said, building that reputation, because people don't care if you've done deals. People don't care if you have a lot of money. People don't care even maybe about your fancy title company, downtown. But if you can build that credibility and reputation with them, I think it'll be a huge turn on, an advantage for you in the marketplace when everybody rushes back in the next boom, the next gold rush. And you'll already be ready. You already have established credibility, reputation. So I think little things like credibility websites, things like that, reviews, are really going to be the game changer this next year in the marketplace. That's what I have to work on.
Yeah, I want to kind of stress that capital accumulation phase, because I know when a lot of people get started in the real estate business, or just investing in generally, they want to knock that home run big deal out of the park right away. But we've got news for you. Investing is a time oriented business, and it compounds over long periods of time. So getting started really requires that you put in the hours, literally, sometimes at your W-2, your 9 to 5, stack that cash up, be patient with it, save up that nest egg, and have that capital ready to be deployed at a later date. You really don't need to have it all right away. And my point being, like, sometimes it's something that just compounds on itself, and you just have to be patient to have that store value saved up to get to that point. What do you think about that, Patrick?
I completely agree. I think everyone out there has a bare minimum of 10%. Most likely 15 to 20 that they could be saving towards their business, their side hustle, or whatever. I've been preaching this forever. Get a separate bank account at a different bank, and have part of your W-2 money auto go into a separate account that you don't have a debit card or anything else, and just auto go to savings. And you'd be surprised in 3, 6, 12 months how much money you can actually save, because a lot of us are wasting money on the DoorDashes and all the other crap that we're not trying to Dave Ramsey it, but we're just saying if you actually like just have it sitting over there, you're still going to spend money on all that stuff. You're just not going to excessively waste money, and it's actually going to go towards something. So I love all that. And I think that this is a perfect segue into our last segment of the show that we call the Big Four. James, take it away.
Patrick, it's a great time, man. I finished my beer, so that means we're ready to wrap it up. It's great. So, Cody, for this one, we're going to call this one the FI hack. What's something that you do in your financial independence life that kind of feels like a cheat code to help propel you to the next level? Something that feels like a financial independence hack.
I would say for a lot of people getting started and this kind of financial hack, I think on a bigger picture, bigger scale, is definitely leveraging other people's capital to learn and to learn the business. So I think that's a huge thing financially for just repeating that, but getting back into the business. And if you want to learn and be mentored and guided, to be able to leverage somebody else. Like I when I got started, I didn't have to save up my own $10,000 to buy data and do marketing and have platforms and stuff like that. I used somebody else's $10,000, $20,000 monthly to learn the system. So I think that's a financial note. Besides that, I definitely am going to take you up on the financial hack of a separate bank account, because I have multiple bank accounts now, but I have like cards for each of them, right? So I'm like, no, I won't spend out of that one. I'll just spend out of this one. But that's a really good hack. I definitely want to take advantage of. Also, I know we live in a world of flex and hype and flash. I'm not like that. Maybe someday I will when I want to help inspire people. But at this point, I'm not in any financial place to really inspire people with a jet. So with that being said, I mean, I've shared a car with my girlfriend for over 2 years, for like 2.5 years. We've shared a car. We mostly work from home. Half the day I do real estate. Go show some houses, go knock on some doors, or do some properties. But besides that, there's no reason why I need to go buy a BMW. And I thank God that literally God was planted a seed in me to not do it this year. When first time in my life, I had some money. I'm literally scrolling through, looking at BMWs or looking at trash that would not help me move forward in my business. So thank God I didn't, make any decision like that, because it definitely would have hurt me, when starting my own business and going through a market shift or correction. So definitely just, I think in general, just not going out there and buying that stupid stuff, where if most people just make, $10,000 a month, they'd probably be blowing it on at the club and weekends in Miami, stuff like that.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. James.
Yeah. I mean, a lot to be said about, being humble in the beginning so that you can really stack and spend in the end. I think that's a good lesson. Also, with the separate bank account thing, like I've been doing that for about 2 years now. It works wonders. Like I don't even have a debit card attached to this checking account that I have, and I use that to pay some fixed loans that I've got. Out of sight, out of mind. Never tempted to spend that money. I think that's a great tip. So, what do you got for the next?
Yes, it's all about delayed gratification, guys. Delayed gratification. So we call this next one resources. Are there any specific books, podcast, people, influencers out there that have really shaped your financial independence journey, your hustle, your sales journey, that our listeners could benefit from going and checking out?
Yeah, and this is a super obvious one, and a voice, and I figured that we all know, but and I know maybe cheesy, but this is really what planted the seed for me to do something more with my life. And this was my last semester of college. Actually, my probably fall semester, my senior year in college. I got an Instagram ad by this guy named Dean Graziosi, and it was his book called Millionaire Success Habits. He's like burning this book on the thing. At that time, for me in college, it was a free book, but it was $7 shipping, and I'm like, oh, that's a Chipotle bowl. I'm like, man, that's like a week of ramen in college. So I'm sitting here in my house in college debating, like, am I going to pay the $7? And it ended up pulling the trigger. I paid the $7 for this book. And so that was like my first start. But that was a segue into, I got my next ad, because once you get one ad, from a marketer, then it just opens up a whole can of worms in marketing. So then the next guy I got on an ad was Grant Cardone. That was when I was introduced to my long lost uncle. And so my last semester of college, my spring semester of college, I was like, all right, forget everything. No more partying, girls, nothing. I literally was just listening to Cardone Zone and reading every Cardone book there was. And I was like, I was like, because I had my corporate job lined up. I went and did corporate sales for Disney. I was like, I'm going to crush it in corporate, and then I'm going to buy me an apartment complex. And then I got into my corporate job, and I realized, wow, at this rate, it's going to take me 30 years to buy an apartment complex if I literally save up cash and try to go that route. So that's when I learned about the other avenues, and later on got into wholesaling and stuff. But I just say that because I was listening to my favorite audiobook in the world, Be Obsessed or Be Average, by Grant. So I think people definitely underestimate the audiobooks. That's I think, in my opinion, I'm biased, but the greatest audiobook in the world. Be Obsessed or Be Average, a lot better than 10X and stuff. And I know he's got more stuff coming out. So that's obvious. But besides that, Ed Mylett, I love his new book, One More. It really just covers the basics. And oftentimes it's just the basics that we need to hear over and over again. I don't think in real estate or in mindset and personal development, I don't think it's about some magic words or some magic secret key thing that everybody's striving for. Everybody's looking for the secret sauce. Everybody's freaking swimming in there looking for the secret sauce, but I really think it's the basics. So I think things like that. My huge recommendation book as well is Napoleon Hill, the author, but not Think and Grow Rich, that everybody reads, which is amazing. Think and Grow Rich is great. I need to go back and read it again, but most people can't really digest that. It's like the freaking Bible, so Think and Grow Rich is great, but Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil is incredible. Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill is fire. I recommend that even before you read the Bible. It's got all the good stuff in there, but Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill is so good to help us understand our own brain, how our own brain tricks us, and how to evade, the bad energy and those thoughts that lead us to a life of just settling and drifting. So definitely recommend those.
Outwitting the Devil, that's a new one, man. I never heard of that one before. And I will say, I'll double down on this. Uncle G, Grant Cardone, he'll have a special place in my heart forever, because he motivated me to do a lot of things I've done. And I know it's the same for Patrick as well.
Be Obsessed or Be Average was the book that changed my whole perception. I read the sales book, if you're not first, you're last, and Seller Be Sold, and all those other books. And Be Obsessed or Be Average just made me feel that it was okay to be obsessed about this real estate thing and about being successful and going out there and following your dreams. And that's really what changed it for me. So I love me some Grant Cardone too, and some great book options for everyone out there. So go on out there and do that. And James, let's get into this third one.
Perfect. Cody, this one's the future you, man. Tell us what your life looks like 5 years from now. You can paint it personal wise or with your business. Just give us a picture of where you're at in 5 years.
Yeah, I'm really excited to now answer this, because I have a lot clearer vision. I think so many people are missing clarity in their lives. Most people know exactly what they don't want, but most people do not know what they actually want. People say, I hate my boss, I hate my life, I hate my house, my kids are freaking running over my life, or whatever the case is. So most people know exactly what they don't want, and that's why they get it. But people really say, what do you want? Money, time, resources aside, what do you want? Most people don't know. And it's been all over the place, right? I've wanted to do a million different things, but now I have so much clarity now in this space, and being in right where I am for a year. I don't want to change a whole lot over the next 5 years in terms of a business model, but really just expand on what I have. So I'm an agent now, but obviously over time I can become a broker. So I would love to have a successful on-market, traditional, ideally a luxury brokerage to really serve that higher client base that oftentimes turn into investors. So would love to have a luxury brokerage, ideally across a couple different states at that point. Florida, I think, will be hot forever. And so much money has moved into Florida on the luxury side the past couple of years. It's crazy. So, ideally would love to, crush Florida, build a great brokerage, and learn how to really stand out, because there's so many, right? There's so many brokerages, there's so many wholesalers and flippers, especially in a big sunny state like Florida. So learning how to stand out, building a great brand and reputation on the on-market side, on the luxury, more high-end side. And then by that time, having a dozen employees in my investment business, as wholesaling, flipping, acquiring rentals, hunting down multifamily. So I think just kind of what I have now is the very, very baby fetus version. staying exactly where I am in this business model with the 2 avenues and exit strategies I have, and just expanding upon them. So, having a dozen employees and a couple dozen agents, ideally on the brokerage side, and then having, couple dozen employees between VAs and boots on the ground and things like that to acquire more property.
Well, we are definitely going to have you back on in the next year or two to do a recap one, because I think you're definitely going to be accomplishing a lot of these goals, and we're going to continue on this story. So for anyone that has been motivated, inspired, wants to reach out and, do that weekly or monthly kind of webinars that you do to help people, start their wholesaling business and all that, where do people reach out and connect with you?
Yeah, I was gonna say I think mostly Instagram. So on Instagram, because I have link in bio, you can find all the other stuff. Obviously TikTok, just type in my name, KODY, Cody Thompson, on anything. Hopefully I come up Instagram, TikTok, things like that. And also too, my phone number is on every social media. It's my cell phone, goes straight to my phone right here. So text me, you can send me deals, right? Instagram, I get Instagram DM deals, things like that. And also if you want to, you can literally text me, reach out to me, DM me, get back to you as soon as possible. But if you need a assignment contract, if you need that, I'll send you my template. If you need scripts, I will send you scripts. I give them all away in a drive that I have for the free coaching call I do weekly. I'm actually doing it tonight at 8:00 coming up, but I will give away for free because I love people. I want people to win. This isn't about me winning. It's about other people winning. I know that if I help enough people win, I'll get all I want and more. So message me on any platform. I don't have a cool podcast like you guys yet, maybe someday, but I hope to be back, and I'm very, very grateful for you guys. And again, if anybody's listening, you can do absolutely anything. Even if you're at ground zero, if you don't know where to start, you're in an amazing place, because you just have to take a damn step. You just got to get a little uncomfortable. And of course, these guys in here are amazing and genuine, and you reach out to me anytime. I'll help you walk through deals, scripts, whatever you'd like.
Fantastic. Fan-freaking-tastic. All right, for all you guys listening out there, and you haven't left us a review yet, why not? Go do it. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Leave us a review on Apple, Spotify, Google. I don't really think anyone's listening on Google, but if you are, leave us a review there. That's all James and I are working for. Reach out to Cody. Tell him that you love this podcast, and we'll catch you next time. See you guys.
Hey guys.
Awesome. Thank you guys. See ya.